Okay, I was promised, or I promised to do this particular video for a long time because I've had a lot of requests for thyroid, and I thought this is the best time based on after yesterday, or actually the day before yesterday is my last Facebook Live. I didn't get to do one yesterday. So if you haven't watched the last one that was Friday's, please watch that because it really kind of builds on this concept of why we have an epidemic of thyroid problems. Look, in this one, I promise you, I'm going to give you 3 things that you can do right away. Immediately you can try these things. Some of you are going to need more and absolutely would need a health coach, one of my practitioners who I train in this. But I want to give those watching something that you can try right now, especially based on some of the things that you know about intermittent fasting and ketosis. But I'm going to tell you this, those with hormone resistance, especially thyroid, there's some little things you have to do because you're going to be one of those people who are going to be frustrated even doing the right thing. And I kind of talked about that yesterday. So I got a lot of hearts because there many of you watching this, excuse me, have been waiting for this. So no doubt this is a show that the world needs. So you better like and share this one because I'm telling you right now, many people have a thyroid issue and don't know it. They go to their doctor suspecting, right? My hair is getting thinner, my skin, something's not right, I'm having trouble losing weight, even my body temperature isn't the same, brain fog. You know, all those symptoms I list there really have so much to do with thyroid. People don't know, but you go in, your blood work is normal. Here's the problem, one of the problems. It takes literally 20 years to throw the blood work off, but meanwhile, for 20 years, you've had a thyroid issue. Now, here's the other problem. Once they go, oh, your TSH is elevated, or something's wrong in your blood. Well, the problem now becomes this. They give you a medication, typically T4 of some sort, and that's a thyroid hormone. And, well, you come back in a few months, they retest your blood, and your blood work looks better. But you're saying, Doc, I don't feel better. I still don't have energy. I still have brain fog. I'm not sleeping well. My skin isn't better. My hair isn't better, etc. I can't lose weight. You know, again, in the last video that I did, I talked about how toxins drive cellular inflammation of blood receptors. It's part of the problem, but there's other problems. All right, let's go back to the board. And I started in that video, I talked a little bit about this. This is T4. Now this is typically thyroxine, Synthroid. This is typically what the doctor gives. But the problem with that is that it has to be converted to the active thyroid hormone called T3. That's the one that actually gets in the cell. So if we draw our cell again down here, can we see that? Yes, we can. All right, if we draw the cell down here, the T3 is the hormone that actually has to communicate with these cell receptors. Now again, I'm going to tell you last time, make sure you go back and watch the last video, Friday's video, because we talked about how inflammation can block that communication between T3 and these receptors. If that's blocked, it doesn't matter how much hormone is out here. Your blood work will look normal, but it's not getting its message in the cell, into the DNA, to do the magic, to where your brain works normal, your energy feels normal, you're burning fat for energy, your mitochondria is able to use fat for energy. I say 95% of Americans are stuck as sugar burners. Literally, they can't go without eating, and when they're not eating, they can't burn fat. They have to eat not just multiple meals, but they're driven towards carbohydrate addiction because the body doesn't want to break its muscle down into sugar. This is a problem. America, we're sugar burners with the hormonal inability to use fat for energy. Thyroid is one of the problems. When inflammation, mostly, I talked about it in the video, driven by toxins, when toxins come in, attached to this receptor, to the membrane, that's where they go, it drives inflammation, blunts these receptors. Many of you asked, what do I do? True cellular detox is something I've taught for years. 15 years I've taught true cellular detox. If you're one of my doctor's practitioners, say that backwards, if you're one of my doctor's clients or patients that I've trained, you know, they have a true cellular detox program. And for more serious conditions like thyroid conditions, they offer coaching where they walk you through because it's different for everybody. but ultimately you're not going to get well until you fix the cell. That's the bottom line. Some of you need coaches. Some of you may be able to use just the True Cellular Detox system that I developed for the average person who just says, this is what I need. I don't have, any big problems. No doubt we made that. I provided that system, and most of my doctors use it. Those of you watching this, I carry it on my website too. True Cellular Detox is the answer for real detox. Look, all detox has to get to the cellular level, otherwise it's not real. So colon cleanses, all these, 15-day cleanses, 20-day cleanses, 90-day cleanses, in a box, whatever it is, you have to get here. And that's a system of upregulating cell function. That's a system of using true binders to make sure the toxins go all the way out, opening up detox pathways. Years of learning this. That's what True Cellular Detox is. But again, many of you with more serious conditions or just more health challenges, health issues, need a coach. That's why I'm training doctors around the country. All right, back to this. So we talked about how the hormones can't get their message in the cell, can make the blood work look normal. You still don't feel well. Cellular inflammation is huge. One of the things I'm going to talk about here is that, yes, we need to get rid of the toxins, but it's a multi-therapeutic approach because we have to do things also to downregulate this inflammation. Now, we're going to pull from other shows here in a minute when I remind you of that. Let's start here. Okay, so I briefly talked about if there's things that happen, even toxins can interfere with this conversion from T4 to T3. Why? Because a lot of that conversion happens in the gut and also the liver. Even a selenium deficiency can cause this conversion to lack. And what happens then, and the reason why selenium is a lot of heavy metals disrupt these selenium receptors, and we have selenium deficiencies for multiple reasons. Toxins are definitely one of them. So, that absolutely has to be addressed. Methylation problems. Methylation I talked a little bit about. It's my R number 5 of how you fix a cell. But certain methyl donors, B12, folates, people that have trouble converting folate into active forms of folate have trouble with conversion. And one more, insulin. So insulin actually is needed also to make this conversion. All right, I tipped you off a little bit. This is why many of you go, okay, I'm doing ketosis, low carb, intermittent fasting, and I'm just not losing weight even still. I still don't feel great. What's going on? Well, many of you have this problem. So I'm going to give you a tip here at the end of what you can do while you're in ketosis, intermittent fasting, to help you make this conversion. Because oftentimes, those of you who go low carb that have this issue, you get worse, or it doesn't work to lose weight. Because ultimately, as insulin goes lower, as we go low carb, what happens is our conversion oftentimes gets worse. So thyroid people, you end up as these sugaraholics. You need carbohydrates, and therefore you feel better, but yet you're not losing weight, and all these other problems are happening. However, but it does help this conversion. I'm going to give you an answer to that. So anyways, so all of these issues can interfere with this conversion. All right. And I already said if we can't get the T3, even if you make the conversion, and the cell is inflamed, mostly due to toxins, but elevated glucose and insulin have a play here as well. You can't get that in the cell. There's another problem. Many of you have many emotional stressors, even chemical stress. It starts to produce, instead of going T3, I'm going to draw an arrow over here, your body starts going in a different pattern, and it produces something called RT3, reverse T3. Basically, reverse T3 is produced in times of stress. Your body can feel emotional stress, physical stress, whether it's multiple injuries or even chemical stress, and start to shunt from T3. Instead of T3 going into the active hormone, you start producing more of this RT3 in times of stress. It's a normal process. If you have the flu, the reason a lot of times you have no energy, this is one of the pathways that it does to reduce your energy, to drive it somewhere else for healing. So what it does is it starts to form more RT3 in times of stress. RT3 starts to bind to these same receptors as T3. It's a reverse. It looks the same. So they're able to bind to the same receptors. But the problem is RT3 blocks T3. RT3 slows down the energy. It doesn't give the same result as the T3. So now, like when you have the flu, a time of stress, RT3 is produced instead of T3. Binding to the same receptors, energy goes down. Emotional stress, chronic cortisol, adrenal fatigue. You could be producing too much RT3, blocking the receptor. Stress, this is how stress causes thyroid interruption, right? So it blocks the receptor. So we know toxins can block the receptor to T3, but so can your body producing more of this RT3, reverse T3. So stress can block that, and now you're producing this reverse T3 instead of the T3 that gives you the energy. It's normal. It happens in times of flu, but when your flu goes away or the short-term stress, your body starts producing more T3 instead of RT3. We look at a ratio. My doctors, we all look at a certain ratio of that because that's, by the way, regular doctors, they don't look at RT3. They don't even consider it. They won't even run the blood work because they don't understand it, right? But we look at a certain ratio of T3, RT3 to give us a clue if you are what we call reverse T3 dominant. Stress can cause that. It can block. It could be a reason you don't feel well. All right, one more, autoimmune. Most regular medical doctors do not look at, they don't even run antibodies until years down the road. And the reason why is their treatment's the same, whether you have autoimmune thyroid issues, meaning that your own body is attacking the receptors, either to T3 or even receptors on the thyroid, or it's attacking the thyroid. Multiple places, your own immune system could attack the receptor, the thyroid hormones, the receptors to them, and cause these issues. TPO enzymes, looking at all the different thyroid antibodies is very, very important. Most doctors don't run them. You have to ask for them. Here's why. Because the way we handle someone with autoimmune thyroid is different than the way we would handle it without. The reason doctors don't run it is because their treatment's the same. Here it is, T4. The problem is if you have autoimmune, giving T4 really doesn't do much. So again, it's wise to know if you have autoimmune. So, and I could really do a whole thing on that. Okay, so now, this is why your blood work looks normal. This is why you still don't feel well, because you have a problem in these areas. But here's the problem again. Doctors aren't looking at toxins' effect on conversion, selenium, methylation, insulin. They're not looking at that. They're not looking at cellular inflammation. They're not looking if you're producing too much RT3 and RT3 dominance, if stress is causing it. They don't even consider it. They just think that you're unlucky and for some reason you need more T4. Okay, it's absolute insanity the way we're doing thyroid in this country. It's sad, actually. It's very sad. So, but this is an epidemic. Toxins are really driving the epidemic for multiple reasons. Because it's, glyphosate, which I've talked about, a chemical that's causing leaky gut, driving autoimmune thyroid. Toxins affect all these different areas. Remember over here, I drew the person. That's a pretty good one. I drew the brain and how toxins affect the pituitary, which affects the thyroid and the adrenals, plays into this. So toxins affect it here, here, and also RT3, multiple places. So again, true cellular detox, no doubt the answer. All right. I'm going to make a couple product suggestions, and I hate doing it because then it looks like I'm selling product. But there's a product that I like called GA. You can get it on my website. It's actually an adrenal product. There's a product that I like called GF. It's a thyroid product that has RNA, DNA tissue of thyroid, and it targets the thyroid very well. There's a product that I like called GB. It's pituitary. Remember, the pituitary is in the brain that controls the thyroid and the adrenals. The adrenals, the thyroid, and the pituitary work in this synergy together. One of the suggestions right away for you is try these products. And then I'm going to add one more called MORS. MORS is a methylation product that has the active form of selenium. Remember, selenium is one of the problems here, that selenium could affect this conversion, right? So, and also, I said methylation. Moors has all of the active forms of methyl donors, and it has the selenium. So there's 4 things right there that I would absolutely try right away. And believe it or not, just good old sea salt added in helps the adrenals and helps a lot of the conversion. And then here's another one, but you have to be very careful. It's a product called TMI. TMI is a product of iodine that uses something called herbalomics that's matched with different herbs. And there's iodide and iodine, and there's a certain ratio that the world's leaders in thyroid issues use this ratio to target, and of iodine and iodide. This product has it, plus the herbaloma component. If you have autoimmune, you can't just run and take this product. If you have autoimmune, you need a coach, by the way. But you have to start with drops. And you can't start adding iodine until you pick up your selenium and methylation and antioxidants. Then we can start the iodine. See, it kind of gets a little complicated when you have certain issues. That's why we're training doctors. But the iodine is key. Now you get online and they say, you can't take iodine with Hashimoto's, that's an autoimmune thyroid condition. You can't take iodine, it creates a thyroid storm. They're right and they're wrong. You actually need it. You'll never, ever, ever fix a condition without it. However, you have to start very small and work up after you've balanced the selenium and some of the oxidative stress, dietary changes, and then we add in and we bring it up. So this is kind of a caution on the TMI. If you know you don't have autoimmune, go ahead and add it, but otherwise you better be careful. So anyways, there's some immediate suggestions. Now let me talk about the dietary thing that I talked about. All right, go back if you haven't and watch the shows that I did on ketosis and intermittent fasting. They're back videos. If you go to videos, you can see the back videos there. You can even put in a search. Go to my website, drpompa.com. Tons of videos on this, okay, and shows. I've done cellular healing TV shows on this. Watch them, okay? Now look, you're going to be that person that gets into it and says, I don't feel great. I don't feel great on this, or I'm just not losing weight. I feel better, but I'm still not losing weight. We need insulin to make these conversions. So therefore, raise glucose and insulin up, and you start to make conversions better. But you're not going to solve your problem, right? You're actually going to get worse. Now here's what you do. So, ladies, I'll speak to you here. What you do, you go into ketosis, or at least try. You're starting to get your carbs under 50, right? Under 50 grams. And all of a sudden now, again, you're not converting. You're kind of on the edge of ketones, producing 0.3, 0.4, maybe 0.5 every once in a while. Now, diet variation. Your week of your cycle or the week before, whichever one you feel worse or more moody, something to those degrees, I'm not going there. But 1 week of the month, this is when you eat the higher carbohydrates, healthy carbs, more sweet potatoes, but maybe more quinoa. Those of you who aren't, you're okay with some brown rice or something, go ahead and add a little bit of that in. But I'd prefer staying completely away from grains. How about berries? Add more berries in. So you get those healthier carbs, and you run maybe 100, 150 grams of carbohydrates, boosting up insulin, helping the conversion. That conversion gets worse during your cycle, or the week before, or both. So that's when you go at it with the high carbs, and then you go back to low carbs. Guys, it works for us too. Diet variation. Pick 1 week a month, throw the higher healthy carbs at it, boom, conversion starts happening, protects you. Now, weekly diet variation. For most of my thyroid people, 2 or 3 carb days a week they need to help them with that conversion. So I typically like 2, maybe Wednesday and Saturday, and we go healthy high carbs to improve that conversion. I'm telling you, it's magic. And I do high carb days once a week, sometimes twice anyway, because it reminds our bodies that it's not starving, and your body just fires up fat burning again. So it works for everybody. However, for these folks, it really is magic. It's how you can do ketosis and intermittent fasting when you have this problem. Because if you're just low carb, low carb, low carb, you're killing your conversions, not just with thyroid hormone, but with other hormones too. Yeah, that should be a big thumbs up. Believe me, years of doing this, I learned this stuff, and training doctors, learned this stuff. So Yes, ketosis, intermittent fasting, magic for hormone optimization, magic, but you need to learn this trick. So doing some of these little tricks, you know, making some of those dietary tricks, I'm telling you, you better share this because it works. But again, I have to remind you of this, okay? We got to go one more flip here. All right. I talked to you about the three-legged stool. All right, that's a stool. I know my artwork is brilliant. Looks like an octopus. I know you can make fun of me, but all right, there's a point here. Okay, so I use this to describe autoimmune. There's certain genes that get turned on. Okay, you get this disease or the autoimmune condition of your genetic weakness. We need certain stressors to turn it on. Okay, now this leg, the center leg here, are the stressors. So we have certain stressors that will turn on that gene. Could be physical, chemical, or emotional, right? We have to get rid of them. This is where true cellular detox comes in. And by the way, turning off the gene, this is where my 5 R's comes in. My 5 R's is really the training. This is the roadmap of how you fix a cell and detox a cell. And this is what I train doctors. And that is how you turn off that epigenetics. You're never going to fix a thyroid condition without understanding epigenetics, without understanding how to turn genes off. And that's what my 5 R's is part of. That's real detox. That's cellular healing. So anyways, the true cellular detox, we have to remove stressors. But I'm going to tell you, if you have a lot of emotional traumas, I did a video when I was in Hawaii and I talked about trapped emotions, right? And trapped traumas. Well, guess what? You know, that plays into this too. You have to get rid of physical, chemical, emotional stressors, and now we're able to turn the gene off. We have to do it at the cellular level. Trapped emotions and traumas also occur in the cell. So we have to get rid of those cellular stressors to turn the genes off and the good ones back on. There's one more big component here. It's the gut. I've done a show, I did a couple shows past again on the gut, the microbiome, this bacteria that we need to help even turn good genes on and bad genes off, right? We need to help remove stressors. So this all plays in. What's the analogy with a three-legged stool? If one leg is not there, it doesn't hold up, right? Well, guess what? If you're trying to turn genes off without removing cellular toxins, without true cellular detox, forget it. If you're doing that without trying to balance the gut, forget it, right? So we have to balance this brain and this brain. This is called the second brain, true cellular detox brain phase right here. And we want to balance this gut. All of this has to be happening simultaneous. This is what I call MTA, multi-therapeutic approach. That's the key. Look, you're going to need a coach, you know, I mean, no doubt about it. Putting all this together, you know, fixing the gut, this is where all my ancient healing strategies come in. To fix the gut, you have to know how to balance all these things. But putting it together, when you're doing true cellular detox, all the 5R work, when you're doing the ancient healing strategies, ketosis, diet variation, all of this together, that's the magic. You know, yeah, the supplementation helps. You know, I call these target formulas where we're targeting these areas. But in and itself, you've got to put it in context of this. You know, this is why autoimmune happens. Genes get turned on, stressors turning them on, and a bad gut that needs to be fixed. You know, this is the epidemic. This is why people don't feel well. It's where the answer lies, always. Too few doctors are willing to go this deep, and that is my passion. Getting doctors to understand it's not just about giving someone more supplements. It's not so easy. It's not the 10-day detox. It's not so easy. It's not. You know, and it's like, so I wish I could say take this and make it so that's what people want, I know. But a multi-therapeutic approach is how I got my life back. It's all thousands across the country, the world at this point, because we've trained that many doctors. That's how they're getting their lives back. If you don't think you should share this show, I'm telling you, you need to. I've trained doctors around the country. If there's one in your area, just call my website at drpompa.com and we'll find one for you. I still take some clients on myself, not as many as I used to, but you need a coach if you have these battles. True Cellular Detox program is going to be good for some of you, no doubt, that don't have as many health challenges, and that's why I developed it, to bring real detox to the masses, if you will. Look, you know, I know I opened up Pandora's box. I'm going to get a lot of questions, you know, but this is the answer. Well, what's real, and that's my thing. What is real is never that easy, right? Everyone wants me just to have the simple thing. It's not so easy. You know, years of learning this. The answer lies here. You know, people say, well, I don't want to invest that much into a health coach. People, you know, they're spending all this money into coaching for this or that. You should see, you know, where people are putting their money. It's like, we docs that get this, your life will change. What's it worth to you? You know, and it's when you be weary of the simple thing. Be weary of just going home with a bucket of supplements. It's not in a multi-therapeutic approach. You know, that's the key. You put it all together, the answer lies there. Go to my website, read more about it. I wrote an article about multi-therapeutic approach. I did a YouTube video about the multi-therapeutic approach. I've done multiple cellular healing TVs on the multi-therapeutic approach. So please don't ask me, what do I do? Go and educate yourself. Knowledge is power, right? I've coached doctors around the country. You know, we're doing this for a reason. Spread the message, share it. I'll keep building on these concepts one at a time. So go back and watch past videos. Let's make a difference. Let's change the world. I'll see you on the next video.